Most people imagine billionaire security as gates, guards, and armored cars, but the greatest threats to modern wealth don't arrive at the front door. They arrive silently through code, credentials, and compromised devices. Today, trillions of dollars don't sit in vaults. They exist as data, keys, access permissions, invisible ownership records spread across servers, clouds, and blockchains. And the ultra-wealthy know something most people don't. If your digital life is breached, your physical wealth is already gone. Tonight, ULLC. How billionaires are quietly rebuilding security for a world where money no longer exists in one place, and why the future of wealth protection is invisible. Before we begin, if you want to understand how wealth actually protects itself in the modern world, not luxury fantasies, not surface-level tech talk, subscribe now. This channel reveals the systems, psychology, and strategies that operate far beyond public view. Now, let's begin. For decades, wealth protection followed a predictable logic. Physical assets demanded physical defenses. Mansions had gates, vaults had guards, armored vehicles, private security teams, and controlled access created a visible perimeter around value. That model worked when wealth was tangible, centralized, and slow to move. But the modern billionaire no longer owns most of their wealth in physical form. It exists digitally, fragmented across systems most people barely understand. This is the digital blind spot that caught even the ultra-wealthy unprepared. The modern billionaire's balance sheet includes crypto wallets, tokenized assets, digital real estate deeds, proprietary algorithms, private communications, biometric data, intellectual property, and access credentials that unlock entire financial ecosystems. None of these assets sit behind gates. They exist in networks that never sleep, and borders that don't exist. Traditional security fails here because it protects the wrong thing. A mansion can be locked, a server can be breached remotely from anywhere in the world. A private jet can be guarded. A compromised email account can expose years of confidential negotiations in seconds. The threat is no longer physical intrusion. It is silent extraction. Hackers don't see billionaires as people. They see them as systems. Each device, account, assistant, advisor, or family member represents a potential entry point. The value isn't just money. It's leverage. A single compromised phone can reveal travel schedules, security layouts, private conversations, and authentication pathways. A leaked identity document can unlock financial accounts. A hijacked crypto key can transfer assets irreversibly in minutes. What makes this dangerous is not sophistication alone. It's asymmetry. A billionaire may spend millions securing physical assets, yet rely on consumer-grade devices, outdated software practices, or fragmented digital oversight. The attacker needs only one weakness. The defender must protect everything. This imbalance has already cost fortunes. In recent years, high-net-worth individuals have lost nine-figure sums through SIM-swapping attacks, compromised assistance, social engineering, and targeted phishing campaigns designed specifically for elite victims. These attacks are rarely random. They are researched operations, often involving months of reconnaissance. Attackers study digital footprints, the same way physical thieves study routines. Social media posts reveal locations. Business filings reveal relationships. Public appearances reveal timing. Even philanthropic activity exposes networks of trust. The most valuable targets are not bank accounts. They are access points. Crypto portfolios are especially vulnerable. Unlike traditional banking, blockchain assets are bearer instruments. Control the private key. Control the money. There are no fraud departments. No recovery calls? Many early adopters of crypto among the wealthy underestimated this reality. They stored keys on devices connected to the internet, shared access with advisors, or relied on single signature wallets. When breaches occurred, assets vanished permanently. But crypto is only one layer. Digital real estate records, tokenized ownership, private equity data rooms, proprietary investment models, and confidential legal documents now live in cloud-based environments. These systems are convenient, efficient, and catastrophically exposed. when mismanaged. Even personal data carries immense value. Medical records, biometric identifiers, and personal communications can be weaponized for blackmail, identity theft, or coercion. For billionaires, reputational damage can cost more than financial loss. The blind spot isn't ignorance, it's outdated thinking. Many ultra-wealthy individuals built fortunes in an era where cybersecurity was an IT problem, not a strategic risk. Security was delegated downward, fragmented across vendors, and treated as maintenance rather than architecture. This approach no longer works. Digital threats evolve faster than physical ones. Attack techniques adapt daily. Artificial intelligence now automates phishing, impersonation, and pattern analysis at scale. Deepfakes blur reality. Voice replication allows attackers to mimic trusted contacts with terrifying accuracy. A phone call from a familiar voice is no longer proof of authenticity. This is why traditional security teams are insufficient. Guards can't stop code. Cameras can't detect credential theft. Locks don't matter when the attack never touches the door. The ultra-wealthy learned this the hard way. In several anonymized cases, attackers didn't breach the billionaire directly. They compromised peripheral targets, personal assistants, family members, household staff, or professional advisors. These individuals had lower security standards, but high-trust access. Once inside, attackers moved laterally, collecting data quietly, mapping systems, and waiting for the right moment to extract value. The damage often went unnoticed until assets were gone or sensitive information surfaced elsewhere. This revealed a crucial truth. Billionaire security is no longer about defending assets. It's about controlling access. Who can see what? Who can authorize actions? Who can communicate with whom? Who holds keys, passwords, and permissions? Without centralized digital governance, wealth becomes porous. The blind spot also extends to scale. The more wealth grows, the more complex digital ecosystems become. Multiple devices, multiple platforms, multiple advisors across jurisdictions. Each addition increases the attack surface. Complexity is the enemy of security. This is why elite families are now shifting strategies entirely. They are moving away from reactive security toward bespoke digital architecture designed from the ground up. But that transformation begins with acknowledging a hard reality. In the digital age, wealth is not stolen, it is accessed. And access, once lost, is almost impossible to reclaim. The future of billionaire security begins where traditional thinking ends. Once the ultra-wealthy recognized that traditional security could not defend digital wealth, they stopped buying products and started building systems. This marked a fundamental shift. Cybersecurity for billionaires is no longer an off-the-shelf solution, a software subscription, or a managed service handed to a vendor. It is an architecture designed uniquely around their lives, assets, and risk profiles. The key difference is intent. Consumer and enterprise cybersecurity focus on efficiency and scale. Billionaire cybersecurity focuses on isolation and control. Where companies centralize systems for productivity, the ultra-rich deliberately fragment theirs. Where normal users seek convenience, they accept friction as the price of survival. These invisible walls are not a single technology, they are layers of deliberate separation. At the core of bespoke cybersecurity architecture is compartmentalization. Assets, identities, and access points are separated so completely that breaching one reveals nothing about the others. A compromised device does not lead to accounts. A compromised account does not reveal keys. A compromised key does not expose the system. Nothing trusts anything by default. This philosophy is often described as zero trust, but billionaire implementations go further. They assume compromise is inevitable and design systems that fail safely. The goal is not to prevent every breach. It is to ensure no single breach is catastrophic. One of the first invisible walls is identity separation. Ultra-wealthy individuals no longer operate under a single digital identity. Their financial identities, personal identities, communication identities, and operational identities are entirely distinct. Different devices, different credentials, different networks. Sometimes different physical locations. A phone used for family communication is never used for financial authorization. A laptop used for investments never touches email. Devices that hold cryptographic keys are never connected to the internet. This isolation frustrates attackers because information cannot be chained together. Another critical layer is device minimalism. Billionaire cybersecurity teams aggressively reduce the number of devices that interact with sensitive systems. Fewer devices mean fewer attack vectors. Each approved device is hardened, monitored, and treated as disposable. If compromise is suspected, the device is destroyed, not repaired. Hardware-level security plays a central role here. Secure enclaves, air-gap systems, hardware security modules, and physically isolated signing devices are standard. These tools ensure that private keys never exist in accessible memory and never leave controlled environments. In so many cases, authorization requires physical presence, multiple devices, and time delays. This makes remote theft nearly impossible. Networks themselves are also customized. Ultra-wealthy families often operate private networks that never touch public infrastructure directly. These networks use layered firewalls, private routing, encrypted tunnels, and even if an attacker intercepts data, it appears meaningless. Some systems deliberately generate noise, producing decoy traffic and false signals to confuse surveillance. This makes targeted monitoring prohibitively expensive, but technology alone is not enough. Human behavior is the weakest link in any system, which is why bespoke cybersecurity extends to people. Every individual with proximity to the billionaire is profiled for risk. Assistants, advisors, family members, household staff, and even frequent guests are assessed. Their access is minimized, monitored, and segmented. No one has broad visibility. No one holds full authority. Critical actions require multi-party approval. This prevents single-point failures. Even if someone is coerced, compromised, or manipulated, they cannot act alone. Training is constant and discreet. High-risk individuals are educated to recognize social engineering, impersonation, and psychological manipulation. Communication protocols are enforced. Unexpected requests are verified through secondary channels. Voice and video are never trusted blindly. In elite circles, trust is procedural, not emotional. Data storage follows the same philosophy. Sensitive information is never stored in one place. Encrypted fragments are distributed across separate environments, sometimes across jurisdictions. Reconstruction requires specific conditions, credentials, and physical access. Even backups are treated as attack surfaces. Offline backups, cold storage, and manual recovery procedures replace cloud convenience. Speed is sacrificed for certainty. Monitoring is another invisible wall. Unlike consumer security, which relies on alerts after suspicious activity, billionaire systems focus on behavioral baselines. Artificial intelligence models learn normal patterns of access, timing, location, and interaction. Deviations trigger silent containment rather than loud alarms. Suspicious activity is isolated, not confirmed. This allows security teams to observe attackers without revealing detection, gathering intelligence while preventing damage. The goal is strategic advantage, not immediate reaction. Perhaps the most important aspect of bespoke cybersecurity is governance. Wealthy families increasingly appoint digital security officers with authority equal to legal and financial advisors. These individuals oversee architecture, enforce discipline, and coordinate responses. Security is no longer an IT function. It is a strategic pillar. Decisions about convenience versus protection are made deliberately. Nothing is accidental. This level of control extends to emerging technologies. Artificial intelligence tools used by billionaires are often private, trained on isolated datasets, and never connected to public models. Communication platforms are customized. Even operating systems may be modified to remove unnecessary components. Every feature is a potential vulnerability. The result of this architecture is not invisibility, but ambiguity. Attackers cannot map systems. Targets do not reveal structure. There is no obvious entry point. This frustrates even advanced adversaries. However, these invisible walls come at a cost. Complexity must be managed. Discipline must be enforced. Mistakes are not forgiven. This lifestyle is incompatible with casual digital behavior. The ultra-wealthy accept this trade-off because they understand something fundamental. In the digital era, power belongs to those who control their own infrastructure. Security is no longer about defense. It is about sovereignty. And sovereignty requires walls that cannot be seen, only respected. For all the technology protecting billionaire wealth, the most unpredictable variable remains human behavior. Firewalls can be hardened, devices can be isolated, and networks can be encrypted. But psychology cannot be patched. This is why the ultra-wealthy invest as heavily in behavioral control as they do in digital architecture. The strongest security systems fail when people act out of habit, emotion, or trust. Attackers understand this better than most defenders. Modern cybercrime targeting elite individuals is rarely technical at the surface. It is psychological. The objective is not to break encryption, but to bypass it by manipulating the person who holds access. This is where the human firewall becomes critical. The ultra-rich no longer assume people will do the right thing. They design systems that assume people will make mistakes. One of the first principles is emotional insulation. Billionaires and their inner circles are trained to recognize emotional triggers commonly exploited by attackers: urgency, fear, authority, and familiarity. Messages demanding immediate action are treated with suspicion by default. Unexpected instructions, even from trusted voices, require verification. Nothing urgent is ever real until proven. This discipline is difficult to maintain because wealth creates constant, legitimate urgency. Deals move quickly. Decisions carry massive consequences. Attackers exploit this tempo by injecting themselves into moments of pressure. The human firewall slows everything down. This is enforced through ritualized verification. Requests involving money, access, or sensitive information must pass through predefined steps, regardless of context. There are no exceptions for status, emotion, or convenience. These rituals may seem excessive, but they neutralize manipulation. Another layer of the human firewall is role limitation. Individuals are trained to understand not only what they can do, but what they are forbidden to do. Assistants may schedule meetings, but cannot authorize payments. Advisors may recommend actions, but cannot execute them. Family members may access lifestyle funds, but not core assets. Clarity reduces risk. This separation also protects relationships. When people cannot act alone, they cannot be exploited alone. Social engineering collapses when authority is distributed. The ultra-wealthy also control exposure. Every public appearance, interview, or social post increases the available data attackers can analyze. This includes voice samples, facial movements, speech patterns, and behavioral cues. Deepfake technology has made this data dangerous. As a result, many elite individuals limit public digital presence or deliberately distort it. Voice signatures are changed. Communication styles vary. Personal routines are obscured. Ambiguity becomes protection. Internal communication follows strict protocols. Sensitive discussions occur only through approved channels, at approved times, using approved devices. Casual conversations never contain actionable information. Even language is controlled. Phrases implying authority or urgency are avoided. Clear, structured language replaces emotional tone. This reduces the effectiveness of impersonation attacks. Training extends beyond awareness. It includes rehearsals. High-risk individuals participate in simulated attacks, fake phishing attempts, impersonation drills, unexpected verification challenges. These exercises build reflexes that override instinct. The goal is automatic skepticism. This training is not fear-based. It is normalization. Security becomes part of daily life, not an emergency response. Another critical element is accountability. Every action leaves a trail. Authorization logs, access records, and behavioral analytics create transparency within the system. This discourages negligence and detects anomalies early. People know they are part of the security system, but perhaps the most powerful aspect of the human firewall is cultural. Elite families cultivate a culture where saying no is respected. Questioning instructions is encouraged. Delays are acceptable. This counters the social pressure attackers rely on. In many environments, speed is praised. In billionaire security culture, caution is rewarded. This cultural shift often requires unlearning habits developed over decades. Wealth attracts deference, authority becomes unquestioned. These dynamics are dangerous in digital contexts. The human firewall dismantles hierarchy at critical moments. No one is above verification. Family members are often the hardest to integrate. Emotional bonds override discipline. Attackers exploit this through impersonation and emotional manipulation. To counter this, families establish formal protocols that override personal relationships when it comes to security. Love does not grant access. This may feel cold, but it preserves trust by removing temptation. The psychological burden of this lifestyle is significant. Constant vigilance can create fatigue. This is why billionaire security systems prioritize sustainability. Rules are simple, clear, and consistent. There are no ad hoc decisions. Everything is predefined. This reduces cognitive load. When something unexpected occurs, the response is already known. This prevents panic and impulsive action. Another overlooked aspect of the human firewall is exit management. People change roles. Advisors retire. Staff move on. Relationships end. Each transition is a risk. The ultra-wealthy manage exits meticulously. Access is revoked systematically. Devices are returned or destroyed. Knowledge is compartmentalized so no one leaves with a complete picture. Even trust has an expiration date. This discipline may appear extreme, but it reflects a realistic assessment of risk. Most breaches occur during transitions, not stability. The human firewall also adapts to evolving threats, as artificial intelligence enables more convincing impersonation. Verification methods shift toward multi-factor, multi-channel confirmation. As social platforms expose new data, privacy strategies adjust. The system is alive. Ultimately, the human firewall transforms people from liabilities into assets. Technology can protect data. Architecture can protect systems. Only behavior can protect decisions. The ultra-wealthy understand this deeply. Their greatest defense is not secrecy, but discipline. And in a world where access is everything, discipline is the rarest form of power. As the digital world accelerates, billionaire security is entering a new phase. This phase is not defined by stronger firewalls or smarter software, but by a deeper principle: sovereignty. The ultra-wealthy are no longer content to defend their assets within systems designed by others. They are building environments they control entirely, from infrastructure to identity. Digital sovereignty means owning the rules, not just following them. This shift is driven by a simple realization: every external dependency is a vulnerability. Every shared platform is an exposure. Every convenience traded for control increases risk. For those protecting generational wealth, this trade-off is unacceptable. The future of billionaire digital security is therefore private by design. Private clouds replace public ones. Proprietary communication systems replace commercial platforms. Custom operating environments replace standardized software. Even hardware is increasingly bespoke, designed to meet specific threat models rather than mass market needs. This approach mirrors how physical security evolved decades ago. Wealthy individuals moved from public banks to private vaults, from commercial flights to private aviation, from public venues to controlled environments. Digital life is now following the same path. One of the most significant changes is the retreat from data centralization. Centralized data is efficient, but it is fragile. A single breach can expose everything. The ultra-wealthy are embracing distributed models where no single system contains complete information. Ownership records, credentials, and sensitive data are split, encrypted, and stored in isolated environments. Access becomes conditional rather than permanent. Authorization may depend on time, location, context, and multi-party consent. This makes unauthorized use nearly impossible, even if credentials are compromised. Another defining feature of future security is temporal control. Assets are not always accessible. Some are deliberately locked behind time delays. High-value transfers may require waiting periods that allow for detection and intervention. This frustrates attackers who rely on speed and surprise. time becomes a defensive weapon. Artificial intelligence plays a growing role, but not in the way most people expect. Rather than replacing human judgment, AI augments it by monitoring patterns humans cannot perceive. It watches for subtle deviations, correlations, and anomalies across vast data. However, billionaire systems do not rely on public AI models. They use private, isolated intelligence trained exclusively on their own environments. This prevents data leakage and model poisoning. Intelligence remains contained. The rise of tokenized assets and programmable money is also reshaping security. Smart contracts enable automated enforcement of rules. Funds may only move under predefined conditions. Ownership rights can be revoked, frozen, or transferred algorithmically. This reduces reliance on trust and increases reliance on code. But code itself is not trusted blindly. Smart contracts are audited extensively, tested under adversarial conditions, and often paired with human oversight. Automation accelerates decisions, but humans retain veto power. This hybrid model balances speed with judgment. Jurisdictional diversification is another pillar of future security. Digital assets are no longer tied to a single country. The ultra-wealthy deliberately distribute infrastructure across legal regimes. This reduces exposure to regulatory shocks, political instability, and centralized coercion. No single authority holds leverage. This does not mean avoiding regulation entirely. It means choosing environments deliberately and designing systems that can adapt to legal change without disruption. Family governance also evolves. Wealth protection is increasingly codified into family constitutions that define digital behavior, access, rights, succession protocols, and crisis responses. These documents treat cybersecurity as a core element of stewardship, not a technical afterthought. Children are educated early. Digital discipline becomes cultural. This ensures continuity across generations. The psychological dimension deepens as well. The future of security is not fear-based, but identity-based. Being secure becomes part of who these individuals are. It shapes how they communicate, travel, and interact. Security is no longer reactive. It is lived. Perhaps the most profound shift is philosophical. The ultra-wealthy are accepting that absolute security does not exist. Instead of chasing perfection, they design resilience. Systems are built to absorb shocks, recover quickly, and limit damage. Failure is anticipated, not denied. This mindset contrasts sharply with public narratives of invincibility. In reality, strength lies in preparation, not denial. As digital threats become more sophisticated, the gap between those who control their infrastructure and those who rely on shared systems will widen. Wealth will concentrate not just financially, but technologically. Those without sovereignty will depend on institutions. Those with sovereignty will operate beyond them. This raises uncomfortable questions about inequality, power, and access. But for the ultra-wealthy, the priority is survival of capital, not moral symmetry. They are not trying to be invisible. They are trying to be unassailable. In T's, future security is not a product. It is a philosophy. It shapes architecture, behavior, governance, and culture. And it is expensive, demanding, and unforgiving. But for those protecting trillions, the cost of exposure is far greater. Digital sovereignty is not about hiding from the world. It is about engaging with it on one's own terms. The invisible fortresses being built today will define who retains power tomorrow. Not because they are impenetrable, but because they are intentional. And in a world where access equals power, intention is everything. If this video changed how you think about wealth, security, and power, subscribe now. This channel isn't about luxury on the surface, it's about the systems underneath. Comment below. Do you think true digital privacy is still possible or already gone? Your next video will take this conversation even deeper.